Welcome back to my channel, Magnus Matt, where we do anything and everything crazy, insane, and amazing. Today I'm interviewing Todd Martin. So to begin with, you're a horse trainer, right? It's a reining horse trainer, which I've heard a lot of different things about. One of them being, it's like dressage is the other one that we see a lot, but I've heard a lot of people say it's a Western version of dressage. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I am a horse trainer and I'm a dad.
Yeah, that too. You're my dad.
Yeah.
So that would make a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
Another thing would be is like why in the reining compared to dressage? I can't say that word. But why? What is so different? What is the difference between them? Like, just to explain.
Well, I guess probably the most fundamental part, right? The tack is a little bit different. So ours derived from the working cowboy. So all of our tack is a Western tack. It's a Western saddle, and our a lot of our rules and stuff pertain more to what our discipline, or like what the working part, right? And dressage is more of the same high level of control over the horse and things that control the body and movement. The same thing that we're looking for is a proper body movement on the horse's part, a willingness to do so. Willingness is probably a lot more emphasized in the reining.
Yeah.
And then we do it on a loose rein, and we do it fast.
Yeah. So
we still have, where instead of we have dressage has like pee-offs where they have the prance and they prance in a circle. We spin. They have lead changes. We have lead changes. They have tempi changes. So we don't necessarily have tempi changes where we change a lot of leads. But we have speed control where we go fast and we go slow. We have the same desires from the shoulders back. We want the same body position for the horse. So we want our horse to be very lined up and correct in his body position, with the right type of arc based on the direction the horse is going and stuff, to where he's balanced and he's in the proper leads, and wanting the body control and that kind of stuff. We want all those same things that a dressage rider has. Dressage rider has a lot of body control, so they can control the shoulders and the rib cage and the hips independently. They can elevate the shoulders. So they can do a lot of stuff, and we can do a lot of stuff with horses. Our bits are a little bit different. And we ride one-handed where they ride two. But proper riding is still proper riding throughout both of them.
Kind of jumping around a little bit here. So you were 21 when you took your first riding horse lesson. When did you become a trainer? Like, actually start training horses itself? Like, as what you do now?
So, my dad got me my first, your grandpa, got me my first horse when I was probably about 8 years old. But we just kind of like played around with him. I didn't really know or learn anything. I took my first riding lesson and actually knew that there was such a thing as a lead when I was 21. And I guess it probably wasn't until I was 28 before I went out and kind of hung my shingle and decided that I was going to train horses for the public and take money for it and that kind of stuff. But in that 7-year gap in between, if I wasn't working or going to college, I was on a horse, and I was on a horse as much as I possibly could. I kind of sunk myself into it. I stopped going. I stopped going to college at about 24 or 25, something like that, and completely went just as I was working, and I was just doing working and just riding horses any minute that I wasn't at a job. Okay.
So what age are you guessing you took your words? Well, what age were you when you went to your first, like, horse show? Like, actually showed a horse for...
Oh, that I showed a horse?
Yeah, that you personally did.
Oh, the first horse show that I went to was in a little town called Beeville, Texas. And the stalls it was just a stretch, kind of called them the stalls. and I showed a reining horse that I'd had in training for maybe 3 months, a young girl by the name, what was her name? oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. Or it was an S. And she had a little sorrel pony that she had trained, and I started teaching the maneuvers, and within 3 months I had taken it to its first horse show, which was like crazy. And I ran about halfway through my run. I blacked out and didn't know where I was at and what I was doing. I was so nervous. And the guy that I was learning a lot of stuff from, Kyle, he yelled out to me, "Roll back to the right." And so I came to and rolled back to the right and finished the rest of my pattern.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was the first big show that you won?
Oh, the first big show that I won. I think probably my one, there was an association called the Guadalupe Valley Quarter Horse Breeders Association.
Long name.
Yeah. For the county.
It's a mouthful.
Yep. And it was in at the Rose Palace in San Antonio, Texas. To me at the time, it was a really big show. It probably wasn't the biggest show, for sure. That was where I won my first buckle. I won Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo at one time, and that was probably the one that I thought was the biggest. That I felt like it was really cool at the time, and I won San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo one year, and that was not any kind of, like, now looking back, not a, like a grand show, but at the time that was a huge show for me because it was in front of like my hometown crowd, and I ran from my guts out and tried to do my hardest and won it, and I was the last one to go in the pen, and the stands were full. And it was probably the loudest cheers that I ever got, and it was probably one of the ones that I remember the most. That was really kind of in the back of my head. That's matter of fact, that's the little plaque right there. That's that's what I won. Was that little plaque? And then I guess probably reserve champion at the NRHA Futurity was probably the next one that I thought was like, pretty grand. I was a reserve futurity champion in the limited open at that year. They had 3 divisions. They didn't have 4, and that year I won reserve champion in the futurity and reserve champion at the Derby in the limited open. Wow. Yeah, and those were pretty cool. But neither one of those, oddly enough, reserve champion at those gave a buckle. So.
And last question. What is the biggest show that you've won? Was it one of those that you mentioned?
I don't know. I don't know which one you would. I mean, everybody has a different idea of which ones they think.
Well, on your opinion, what was the biggest one?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know which one. I don't know that I would put one bigger than the other. I mean, it was pretty cool. I guess I won 2 futurities on One Night Roost, and one was the San Angelo futurity, and there was another one in Katy. There was a pretty good size for little futurity there, and those 2 I won those, and those were pretty cool. Those were winning and being first place in a level 4 and doing all that, and at those little futurities, and they were little futurities that weren't like the grandest of it. I guess you would look at the NRHA Derby being reserve Derby champion, or NRHA Futurity being a reserve Futurity champion would probably be the biggest, but I don't know, I won those outright, those other ones, and they were pretty big scores, and they were pretty cool, and I probably remember those more than any of the others. I don't know, each one has its own significance and what it meant. I think making the finals on Senor Tejano was probably one of the coolest horses that I ever rode. I loved him. And so just showing him, I just remember all of those classes because he was just the coolest. And One Night Roost was really, really cool, winning those futurities on him, and it was just a different run. But I don't know, each one of those. And then I had a horse that we called Patron, and I won an NRVC buckle on him in the Intermediate Open, and that was probably the coolest to me because it wasn't the highest score. But that horse gave me everything. He had 2 runs at that show throughout that week, and that's all he had. I mean, he was not much more than a 72 horse, 72 and a half horse, and he gave me that 2 times in a row, and he just was that was kind of a neat deal that you know, he wasn't the hugest, but I got it the most out of a horse, and no harm for him later. And it was a really fun run to be able to do that with him. So I don't know. There's cool ones, you know, throughout. So I don't know that I would really say that one was greater than the other. My first buckle was pretty cool, and I still cherish that one. Here somewhere, I hung that one up somewhere too. But yeah, there's special deals between each one of them.
Well, thank you for sharing. If you like this, hit the like button, and I'll come out with more.
Like and subscribe, and tune in to Maticus. No, it's not Maticus. What do you?
Magnus Matt.
Magnus Matt. Magnus Matt.
Also, check out my dad's podcast. It's called the Go Time Podcast. I really like it. Pretty cool
I'm referred
podcast.
to on there as a Todd father.
Yep.
Yeah. So
the Todd father.
Yep. And we'll post another one of the discussion we had the other day. Those are some really good talks.
Yeah, there were some really good talks in that one. So stay tuned for the next episode.